Okay, good morning, everybody. We're here at the May meeting of the Board's Enforcement Oversight Committee. The date today is May 14th, 2026. The time now is 11:01 a.m. Now we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Stephanie, can you give us a roll call to verify attendance, please?
Yeah. Lori?
Here.
Annie?
Here.
Kathy? Hearing no Kathy. Gary?
Here.
All right, quorum is verified, and staff in attendance today, we have myself, Chad Cook, Investigator Dan Murphy, and Administrative Specialist Stephanie Kahn. First order of business, pardon me, is to approve the Enforcement Oversight Committee meeting minutes from last month's meeting. That's the March 18th, 2026 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes or any discussion?
So moved. I'll second.
All right. Thank you, Lori, for the second. And Stephanie, let's do a roll call to adopt.
Okay. Lori?
Yes.
Annie?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. And I'm going to go right ahead and pass the meeting over to Dan here. He's got two cases to talk to us today about.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I have two cases to present to you. These are just about the last two from 2021 that we have in our system. And so we're happy to get these addressed and finally out the door. The first case is 21-2499. You all received an EOC packet a week or so ago and had a chance to look over the documents. And does anyone have any questions about this case before we go? This appraiser has no prior history with the board. She's been around for a long, long time. I didn't identify any competency or ethics issues in my investigation. And so based on my examination and her lack of prior disciplinary history, I recommend this case be closed and dismissed by the board and the appraiser be issued a letter of counsel. In all future assignments, ensure adjustments applied to comparables are developed via recognized appraisal method or technique employing relevant data, which are accompanied by sufficient explanation in the appraisal report and documentation in the work file to support credible development process. In all future appraisal assignments, ensure the appraiser's logic and rationale are sufficiently explained to the reader with summaries of the information analyzed, the processes employed by the appraiser, and the reasoning that supports the analyses, opinions, and conclusions, particularly concerning consistent disclosure of known upgrades, updates, and timeframes, highest and best use opinion, and adjustments applied to the comps and the sales comparison. And in all future appraisal assignments, ensure the appraiser maintains a work file that contains all relevant data and documentation necessary to support development of credible assignment results, including for adjustments applied or not applied, and for opinions and conclusions about highest and best use. And maybe in an effort to expand the appraiser's skills and use path, take a class about appraisal work file development and retention, and report writing and narrative support for opinions. And we're ready to vote whether you accept my recommendation or not.
Do we need a motion? I guess we need a motion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Unless there's discussion.
Yes, unless you've got some questions.
Yeah, that would be the appropriate time now for that too.
I'm good.
I don't have any questions, Dan. Great job on this one.
Thank you.
So the motion would be to dismiss with counsel on the case?
I think the motion would be to recommend to the board.
Thank you for the
Dismiss with a
wording.
letter
Yeah,
of counsel.
correct, Lori. Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay, so
Lori.
I will move that we recommend to the board dismiss with counsel on case number 21-2499.
Second.
Okay. Lori?
Yes.
Annie?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. The second case, I think this might have been actually the last case from 2021. We might have one more lurking back there. But this appraiser has some prior interaction with the board and received a letter of counsel in January of 2021. Beyond that, I mean, I would like to say a word about this appraiser, but I think it's appropriate that we go on and look at the PCR and decide about voting on the issues that I identified in the case as needing to be addressed and something outside of a letter of counsel. And the reason I'm recommending it this way is because he had a prior letter of counsel. And even though that letter of counsel was outside of 5 years, it still stands as a record of us discussing similar problems or similar issues with USPAP and so on. And so that's the reason I cited it this way instead of just offering him a letter of counsel, because well, let's do the voting here so we can get the business part taken care of. And then I do have a couple of words I'd like to say about this appraiser, and I think Chad probably does too. So let's jump in and do a vote. Record keeping rule.
Lori.
Can I just interject just a minute? Since this is Gary's first meeting, maybe
Yeah.
we could just kind of describe what it is that we're doing right here, Dan?
Yeah, sure.
Or Chad?
So the whole process is a week before the EOC meeting, everyone on the EOC board gets a copy of the complaint, the allegation, the response, and all the documentation that we have, plus my PCR, my preliminary compliance report, which basically just discusses my findings and how I recommend to the board that we proceed with the case. In the prior case, this appraiser had no record with the board. There was no ethics and no competency. So my recommendation to the board was to close it with a letter of counsel. And so then we proceed with a vote by the board members to see if they agree or disagree. And if they disagree, they speak up about it and make some recommendations about how to take another look at the case. Same thing in this case, except for this appraiser. So you receive the documentation in a week in advance. You can look at all the stuff. You can look at the report. You can look at his response. You can look at my preliminary compliance report. And then in this case, there are identified areas of USPAP non-compliance. And because this appraiser has a prior record, a prior disciplinary history with the board, we can't just give him a letter of counsel. We can't just make the same recommendation. There has to be a different recommendation. And so in this case, I identify elements of USPAP that may have been violated. I present them here in this preliminary compliance report. You, the board members, vote on whether you agree or disagree with my finding for, like in this case, the first thing is that there was a record-keeping rule violation. And then each of the EOC members will take a vote and see if you agree or disagree. And then you also have the position of suggesting further examination, or say you found something in the case that you thought warranted further discussion and perhaps a different citation, then you could discuss that. That
Or
seem reasonable?
Gary, if you disagree that there was a USPAP violation, you would vote no.
No. Correct.
And we're going to do
Yeah,
this on each one, not on the whole case, not on the case as a whole, but on each finding.
Yeah, each violation as we're going. No, I understand. I read the reports. I looked over the work file. I've read those several different reports. Yeah, I took some time before this meeting to really digest these cases and understand the work that went on, the background information that was there. I'm fairly in the loop as to how to proceed and what the recommendations that we're voting on each individual recommendation as a violation of, and then that'll paint the totality of the picture there. So yeah, I'm very familiar at this point in time. I'm confident in my vote and the understanding of the work that was performed.
Great.
Great.
Yeah. That's why we have this system in place. So it works. It's not just me. It's not just me and Chad. It's me, Chad, and 3 other competent appraisers who are voting to decide, whether they agree or disagree with my findings. So, all right, ready to go on?
Yes,
That's
sir.
it.
Sorry for
And
the
let's see.
interruption.
No, I should have elaborated to begin with. This is case 21-2500, in case anybody was wondering. And so here we go. In the recommendation section, the record keeping rule.
Lori.
Yes.
Annie.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Okay. The next, Standard 1, Real Property Appraisal Development. Standard Rule 1-1A.
Lori,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Okay. Standards Rule 1-2E1.
Lori,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Okay. Standards Rule 1-3A3.
Lori,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Okay. And then I have this cited. Standards, USPAP Standard 2, Real Property Appraisal Reporting. 2-1B.
Lori,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Okay. And then finally, Oregon Administrative Rule 161.025.0060, Sub 1.
Lori,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Okay, and lastly, Oregon Revised Statute 674-142.
Lori,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
and Gary.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, now, this appraiser, he's been in our system before, more than once, more than twice. But after talking to him multiple times, and we had, one of the steps in the process here is when I write this preliminary compliance report, I send the appraiser a copy, and I give the appraiser an opportunity to respond to my PCR, either with a phone call conference with Chad and I, or with a written response. And so this appraiser opted to talk to Chad and I, and Chad, we both talked to him extensively throughout the years. And I would say that the intention of our overall system, the overall theme that I think we kind of put into motion is that we want to be corrective to our appraisers rather than punitive. Initially, we want to give them the tools to get USPAP compliant and to become competent, ethical appraisers. And I'm not suggesting that this appraiser was anything other than ethical ever in his whole career. He had some issues before. But in talking to him, he has made great strides. He has taken so many classes. He takes above and beyond the 28 hours that's required. He's a member of the planning commission in the town where he lives. He has been talked to by some folks that we met up at the ACE conference, Hal Humphreys and those guys, about doing a podcast where he can help appraisers develop techniques to support their opinions about land sales and about site value and that sort of thing. And so this appraiser has made great strides, and Chad and I even talked about it, and maybe this isn't the appropriate forum to discuss it, but we do have in our program the mentor program. And after, when we get finished closing this case up and however it ends up going, I think he would be a great candidate for an appraiser to be on our roster as a mentor to someone else if they ever got in that program. So
You're saying
my
to participate on the educational side as a
Well,
resource for other appraisers, not to settle this case. Got it. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. No,
Gotcha.
I'm not
That makes
suggesting how to settle the case.
I would happen to agree with you there, Dan, based on our conversations with the
Yeah.
appraiser. I kind of concur with your assessment of what's going on here. There was some historical issues with process, not with ethics or competency,
Right.
and it related around life events for this person at the time, really. Now, if we look at the date of this case, this is a 2021 case that we're talking about today. So it happened,
a long
we're
time
approaching
ago.
we're approaching 5 years at this point.
Yeah.
A lot can change in 5 years for a person, and that appears to be the case for the appraiser in question. So that I think is going to be a mitigating circumstance in this case as far as what happens moving forward. But yeah, you're right. The enforcement committee today, the whole job is to vote whether or not they recommend to the board that these things did or didn't happen. And I think we've kind of covered that, but within the context of whether or not they did happen or didn't happen, I don't think there's anything intentional here or unethical. And that can play a big part in how the board moves forward with the appraiser later on. So, but I also think I agree with you that this person's experiences through this enforcement process could be beneficial to other appraisers if there was a desire to participate down the line here.
He definitely exhibited a true desire to be a good appraiser, and taken the steps forward to hone his skills, and has a true interest in establishing and supporting the credibility of the profession. So I think he would just be a good candidate for consideration for that other program.
You know, it's this complaint is just so unfortunate.
It's the same thing. It should have never come to us. Yes. I mean,
Right.
And you saw from the documentation that this complainant filed a complaint with his E&O insurance, and they conducted their own independent investigation and found that there were no findings, and that the document in his appraisal report supported what he said. And there were also, well, I don't want to go into the ifs, ands, or buts about it since we're on the record, but there were some things that were discussed. I talked about it in the summary and everything, between how could the complainant know that the roof was going to be done within 2 years if they didn't have some inside information about the condition of the roof. And they did, but they just didn't disclose that. Anyway,
Well, and
that's
the appraiser
speculation.
doesn't have a duty to the borrower. That's not why the appraisal was performed. Not the intended
Yeah.
user.
Yeah.
That was not the intended use. So I just wanted to say, I think it's unfortunate.
Nor are
We'll
appraisers
go
home
back with this
inspectors
now.
that can certify roof condition under
Precisely.
any kind of, yeah. So this is one of those circumstances that we talked about at that conference, as a matter of fact, recently, that a case comes in because of an allegation, and we look at everything because that case came in. We may not find a whole lot of bearing in the allegations, but there may be other issues that we've identified now that need to be discussed. And that's kind of essentially where this case went.
Precisely.
So,
Yeah.
so that's just another, for any appraisers that happen to see this recording, that's another reason to just be diligent and double check everything you put in your appraisal, right?
And in your
Don't
work
give
file.
us anything. Don't give us anything to talk about. We really don't need to have those discussions.
Yeah. So there we go.
Great
Thank you
job,
very
Dan.
much. Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. Thank you.
Do we
Thank
need
you,
a motion
EOC
to
members, for
adjourn?
being flexible today. I appreciate everybody's.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
efforts
I
and-
appreciate everybody for doing
No
that.
problem,
Thanks very
Annie.
much.
Thanks for
Um,
subbing in, Gary.
Excellent work, Ben. Thank you.
Yeah,
The other
welcome,
two will
Gary.
they'll give you your initiation flogging after we close the meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're gonna go get the
Yeah.
goat, Lori.
The
Right?
hazing, yeah,
Excellent
yeah.
report, Brian. Very well written.
Well, I guess we've reached, I'm sorry, Lori, go ahead.
Oh, do we need a motion to adjourn?
Well, that, and I was going to just kind of bring up the next month's EOC.
Oh,
I don't
sure.
know where Dan's at in terms of caseload and where we're at in the stage of the cases. Do you feel like we're a little premature to talk about a June enforcement committee? We are only 2 weeks away from June, essentially, at this point.
I would have to really bust a move. I've been vetting some pretty complicated cases recently, and I've got my marching orders. I know what my next case to work on is. It's just going to be a little bit of time before I can get it opened and in the PCR
No
written.
sweat. And this
I
is one
gotta
of those
see
examples
Dan
of
bust a move.
this is one of those
You don't
examples
want
of
to see that, because it'll be bust a move, and it'll be pull a hamstring and pull a,
blow an
pull a
ACL.
ligament and-
Yeah.
We're too old to be busting moves these
Yeah,
days,
right.
guys.
But I
Okay,
can-
yeah,
I can
and
definitely-
I can concur. Dan, I've had him doing other compliance related things. We had a couple of urgent items come up, so that has diverted his attention a little bit. So maybe I'll check in with you all via survey or a poll later on. But it might make more sense to go to early July or maybe late June or something like that on the next EOC. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, that said, I guess we can entertain a motion to adjourn, or anybody else can bring up a topic for discussion.
Gary, do you want to do the honors?
So do we have a motion to adjourn? That how the
think you
verdict goes?
Yeah,
You
you
make
just
the
make the
motion.
motion essentially. Yeah, just I move to
Just-
adjourn the meeting would be the motion. Yeah.
Okay, I move to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
Lori with the second. Thank you. And Stephanie, let's do a voice vote.
Lori,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
and Gary.
Yes.
All right, everybody. That concludes the May EOC meeting. Time now is 11:21 a.m. and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for everybody's time and attention today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
day, guys.
Bye.
I'll talk to you in a minute, Chad.
All right.
Yep. Bye.